Welcome back to the Keep It Hoop YouTube channel. Before we start, hit that like and subscribe button. Would be greatly appreciated. So we're back today breaking down game one of the Lakers Heat finals. And just looking at some of the offenses that both teams ran and breaking down a little bit of the Miami Heat defensive miscommunications, missed rotations and such. And not going to take a look at the second half with some of the injuries and the game getting kind of out of hand. I think a lot more of the X's and O's and schematic things that were easy to point out occurred in the first half. Um, and we had the Heat taking. I personally had the Heat taking one game from the Lakers, and it's going to be even more difficult to do that with Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo both reportedly playing, or Goran monitoring the situation and Bam saying he'll play, but obviously neither of them will be 100%. It's gonna be a tough series, and we knew that going into it, and the task just got more difficult. The Lakers have the two best players in the series, in LeBron and AD, both of them playing phenomenal. Um, and yeah, look, the Heat were getting pretty good looks in the first quarter, which we're gonna go into, and Spoelstra was really able to flex some of his coaching muscles and show some of the things they were running, getting great shots, good movements, and um, they had the lead. They looked good, but I'm gonna go into this first play right here. But Goran Dragic, that injury is huge. Um, he's someone who, and granted, Tyler Hero and Iggy and Jimmy Butler can all create in their own way. Jimmy obviously isn't afraid to pass the ball up. He can get to the rim. Tyler Hero has shown that he's probably a better passer than people expected. He can also get to the rim. But Goran's the one guy who really drives with the intention, or at least looking to pass. He's their best driving kick guy. And if you saw the last video, you know that that's something that is very important in breaking down a defense. And especially when your whole team really relies heavily and is built around and values the 3-point shot, but you don't have guys like KD or Steph or James Harden who's just going to go out and get themselves a three. Obviously, ball movement is huge, but having a guy like Dragic who can get into the paint and then kick out does wonders for a team like the Heat. So we're gonna start here, right? It's really just a simple pick and pop, pick and roll. Um, Out of timeout plays, which we talked about last time as well, very important out of timeout plays. OTPs, little pick and roll, and he has himself again. Because Dragic can shoot. He has either a pocket pass or a lob to Bam. And then he has the corner three. What's crazy is he has one to Jay. And because Danny Green's helping off of what was a good pick and roll, good screen, right? I mean, KCP is nowhere even. He's not even guarding anyone. He's not guarding Duncan. He's not guarding Bam. He's not guarding Dragic. Cheryl's not guarding either of these guys. So KCP not really guarding anyone here. But anyways, because he's not guarding anyone, Heat have created 5v4, right? So you have four options. Dragic can shoot, pass to Bam, and then corner to Jay, or because again, Danny Green had to help, you can even hit it to Duncan. So fourth option, Duncan. And if you rewind a little bit, you see again Goran Dragic being able to use the pick and roll and play vertical, right? So if we erase some of this, he's not, you know, going out to the side. He's not attacking here, but you're gonna see on this next step, right? His body, his inside shoulder, and his feet are all pointed this way towards the rim, really trying to attack. And because Goran used the screen, and I don't know if KCP was trying to draw something, but he's again not in the play, which means Bam gets a wide open run to the rim. And because of that, AD has to help Dwight, who's not able to keep Goran in front of him, which means Danny Green has to stop the roll man, which is Bam in this case. And then again, because of that, draw exchange pass there, can pass there, and he still has an outlet to Jimmy. So Miami, first points of the game, very, very good offense there. All right. So the next play we're going to take a look at towards the end of the first quarter. Right around here. It's going to be this one right here. Let it run one time. Good shot for KCP. And Rondo and AD obviously have chemistry and know each other from playing on the Pelicans a couple years ago. Rondo uses the screen, make sure he gets the switch Jimmy Butler onto AD, right? And Jimmy's gonna battle, do the best he can, but they're gonna bring the double. Now, what's good here is when so you have Jimmy here, Jay Crowder here. So instead of staying up top, because right, Rondo was here. Instead of staying up top where the Heat are more prone to just leave him alone and double off of him, he makes a hard cut straight to the rim. And nobody wants to give up a layup or a dunk. So Duncan Robinson has to help off of Kuzma to pick up Rondo. And then Kuzma then smartly fills in open space. Right? So now you have Robinson here. Sorry, so you have five defenders, two on AD, the third one on Rondo. AD's even hedging off a little bit, but he's four going out to Danny Green, and then the fifth one's taken by KCP. But that leaves Kyle Kuzma with all this space. I mean, you look at the red jerseys and then you look at or the black jersey and look at the yellow jerseys. Not a single one near Kyle Kuzma right there. And all because Rondo cut. Right? Because if he stays here, then Duncan's probably gonna stay here. And then it's just two guys here. And then they're just gonna leave Rondo alone. So Rondo, using his IQ, cuts. And then because of that, brings Duncan with him. Because you still don't want to give up a wide open three, right? And then again, then you have Kuzma wide open. They pass to him. Iggy makes the nice rotation. Kuzma sees he's cutting or he's closing out really hard, and then he just makes the right pass because Iggy closed out hard. He's behind a little bit, which means Jay has to step up, and then you just have two options right here, and then you just read the defense. Hilo steps up, open pass, wide open three to KCP, who's been shooting the ball very well. So great play there. Great. I'm gonna skip forward. Now keep an eye on Duncan Robinson here. Again, OTP. Out of timeout plays. Huge. So Duncan Robinson's here, starting low block, and you're gonna see him go all the way around to here. Why is that a big deal? Now keep an eye on KCP, if you will. Now KCP's not even doing a bad job, but Duncan Robinson sprints around two screens, and because KCP is behind him, and the Lakers, just like any other team that he'd have gone up against recently, steps up and says, "We don't want Duncan Robinson getting an easy look at a three." Now, if Duncan Robinson didn't use the screens well, or if the Heat were lazy in setting the screens, then maybe KCP is here and Rondo can just stay on Iggy. But that's not the case. So Rondo has to step up, which means Iggy slips it. Duncan Robinson with a nice little drop pass. And then you're going to see that means it's hard to see, but AD's stepping up. Rondo's coming back down. And now even Caruso's dropping down. So this is another play where if you see Tyler Hero wide open with this much space between him. And then you still have the pass that ended up happening, which is Jay Crowder opposite side. So great out of timeout play there. I wanted to point that out. Right. And then I think it's the last play of the first quarter that we're going to look at. At least for the Lakers. The last basket the Lakers get here. Such easy basketball, right? So LeBron's going to get the pick and the screen from Rondo. LeBron holds the ball long enough, doesn't just throw it to him, holds the ball long enough for Rondo to get in position, right? Now, the Heat are still playing the zone, and we talked about this against the Heat or for the Celtics, but against the zone, you get the ball in this free throw extended area, and then it makes the game a lot easier. Now, why that is because now you still have two guys on LeBron, which leaves Rondo, Kuzma, AD, and Caruso to play 4v3. And that makes the game a lot easier. So, because those two guys were occupied with Braun, Solomon Hill has to step in. AD has to take a step in. Dragic takes a couple steps in. And he's open. And he's open. Now, Rondo just ends up making a simple pass to AD. AD has to close, or Iggy closes out, but then AD makes the extra pass. And if you look at by the time Caruso, if you look at the time Caruso gets the ball, just take a look at where when Caruso gets the ball, take a look at where Dragic is, right? Look at all that space that the Lakers are able to get by with LeBron getting two guys on him, making the slip pass to the middle of the floor, where Rondo then has this much space, and then just making the simple read and then the extra pass. And this is the kind of offense that, right, the Lakers are always going to be able to go ISO and get their baskets if need be with guys like LeBron and AD. But to get that elite, efficient offense, plays like this what's gonna make the difference. I mean, it's so much space here, easy shot, and you take those every day. Now the next play I want to look at is gonna be midway through the second quarter. 6:20, right on 6:20. Off of transition. Now LeBron drawing attention again. Right. Early screen, early transition, early screen, early offense. LeBron pushes it. Markieff Morris is trailing. Not in the picture too much yet, so Bam shades, Jay's on him. Two guys on Bron again. And Tyler Hero, who's supposed to be guarding Caruso, gets a little caught up. And this is why I was saying, right, the Miami defense at fault as well. They had, missed assignments, miscommunications. They didn't come out with the same precision, discipline, or effort that they did in the Celtics series. Now that being said, so you have Tyler Hero, a bit lost. You hear stop ball, you see Bron. I think he's really just trying to build a wall here, especially with AD here too. But now you have AD and Bron, right? There's two on AD too. I didn't even notice this at first, which means Duncan Robinson, poor Duncan, has to guard Danny Green, Alex Caruso, one guy who's not even a great defender, has to guard two guys here, while AD is taking up two, and LeBron and Bam are taking up two. And while this is happening, if ideally if Danny Green slides here, Markieff Morris slides here, right? Duncan still has to guard 1-on-2, and Caruso can either slide down or he can actually just cut, right? But I mean, if you're Miami and you look at this and you say, we have four guys guarding two. Probably not ideal, right? So the things they're gonna have to fix. But so what do they get out of this? Right? Just the easy. Again, if you're slow on rotations, then you have to close out hard. This isn't a good fundamental closeout. He's high, hands aren't up. You want to get low, hands up, chop your feet. He doesn't do that. Alex Caruso blows right past him. Duncan Robinson had already committed to going back out to Danny Green, so he can't help. AD is going to be getting the attention of Jimmy. Jimmy ends up contesting, but if he contested too early, then you have the pass down to AD. So Jimmy kind of stuck. Nothing he can do here. Good finish by Caruso. All right, and we'll go down to the 5-minute mark. Right. This shows you the IQ of Rondo again, right? So he sees that it's transition defense. The Heat aren't completely set. He gets the quick pick and roll, and that's when things start to go downhill for the Miami, right? They have Iggy on AD. Iggy's still a decent defender, but AD's too big and strong. Again, Rondo could have just stayed here, been lazy, just kind of stood his ground, but decides to cut, right? Then you're going to see Markieff Morris slowly come up. Jay Crowder, because of the size mismatch, has to help off. And now Markieff Morris gets a wide open three, again, with not a single person in his vicinity. Look at all the space he has. The practice shot. This is also partly Miami's defense messing up because Jay Crowder, if you're Jay Crowder, you don't want to help. Don't double one pass away because exactly that. It's one pass away. They can easily get an open shot off your double. So you don't want to pass. You don't want to double one pass away. So ideally, Jay Crowder is actually still up here, right? So Jay should still be here. So then, how are you going to handle this mismatch? Well, if you don't want to live with Iguodala guarding AD, it should be Bam because Bam's already here, right? If you're just going by, if everybody stayed man to man, then Bam's already the closest to AD, who's his man anyways, right? Now, if you look here, it's gonna be hard to read Rondo's mind, but there's a chance he goes here, right? That works really in favor for Miami then, because if Rondo goes there and Bam comes to help here, one, they could just keep the double and live with Rondo shooting from here. And even if they don't want to do that, then after Bam goes up here, AD or Iguodala can just sag off and then rotate back, and then you have everybody's matchup again, right? So Jay's still here. Then you have Bam on AD and then Iggy on Rondo. The other scenario, hypothetical, right, is if let's say Jay stays there and then Rondo just comes out here. Danny Green probably moves up a bit. Markieff maybe moves over a little bit. Caruso either stays or goes over a little bit. If that's the case, Rondo is here. It's the same question, maybe a little bit difficult, but you can either live with Iggy guarding AD 1-on-1 and Bam comes out here, or what's probably more likely is you say, all right, you know what? We're just going to stop AD. And if Rondo makes that shot, then he makes that shot. But by doing this, you're giving up a three to Rondo. If you're Miami, a Rondo three is better for your team than a Markieff Morris three. You take Rondo shooting the three more. Markieff Morris doesn't knock down, but if you're giving me the option as a defense, I'd rather give up a three to Rondo. So this is um, another situation again of Miami's defense being a little lackadaisical. Again, it should be Jay Crowder up here, and then Bam either deciding to double or Iggy switching, but shouldn't be Jay Crowder here. Because they double again, and then Markieff Morris gets a wide open three. Late contest. Um, just a bad double there. Too lazy. 340 around there. Let's play right here. So this isn't really a play breakdown X's and O's wise, but this is just showing you. This is probably the biggest. And I know Jeff Van Gundy talked about this, but this is the biggest, I think, example, the most clear example of Miami being lazy on defense last night. right? So regardless of if it's a 2-3 or 3-2, right? This is Jay's zone. This is Bam, Tyler, Iggy, and Jimmy. Now I know he's in charge of getting the ball here, but if the ball swings, you move too, and Iggy would shift. But if you just keep an eye on how slow Jimmy rotates, right? Takes a whole hop step where he just steps in place and doesn't do anything. You have to follow the ball. Like you have to be on a string. If ball moves, you move. But Danny Green is in his shooting motion, and then Jimmy Butler goes out to contest, and that's just lazy. Right? He has to be way quicker on the rotation there. Danny Green gets an open three. Right? Not a play, X's and O's wise, but just a simple breakdown of, or not even a breakdown. Simple example of Miami just kind of being lackadaisical there. Now the last play wanted to look at this play right here, right? Off of a turnover, again, Miami's not fully able to set. So what do you have? Little pick and roll. Again, ends up being a pick and pop, right? Pick and pop. There's gonna be miscommunication there because they switch it. Duncan, I think, thinks he's switching it, right? Because he's guarding him right here. He's in full mid post defense right here. Meanwhile, Jay Crowder doesn't move. So, two on LeBron again. Tyler Hero sees this and he thinks, crap, so I have to guard two again. He chooses Kuzma, take away the simpler pass. But then that means Duncan, instead of going right, instead of going straight here, he looks confused and he goes here and then here. Takes a weird route. And KCP is open, right? So if KCP is open, that means Duncan, who was committed there, right? Duncan was committed to helping, so he can't. He's late full coming back and cutting off the drive by Kuzma. And now Kuzma's only able to get past Tyler Hero again because of the little, right? Because two people were guarding LeBron. Tyler Hero had to decide, had to strong closeout. Kuzma drives past. Now, let this run a little bit. Kuzma drives past, and that means you can make the argument that Duncan has him, but in a realistic scenario, now Jimmy's caught between guarding here, guarding here, and guarding here. Now, this right here to KCP is difficult for Jimmy to cover, but at least he has Duncan somewhat close. The one that worries me, or that not even worries me, but the key is right here. Right now, Jimmy's in pretty good position to guard two players, both Danny Green and AD. So if you have, let's say, court, right? One team is X, and one team is O. And you say someone doubles off of you to go defend your big man, right? Let's say defense is O and they're guarding your big man. Right now, they've decided to double him and leave you wide open, right? Now, what that means is the last thing you want to do is cut towards him, right? I mean, you can cut in a different direction and draw, maybe this defender has to sag down or this defender has to step up. But what you don't want to do is just you don't want to just bring your defender, or in other words, making it easier for the defense to guard two people at the same time. Because if you cut here, then they can guard here and stop you at the same time, right? So what you don't want to do is allow defense to guard um, multiple people. Because if one guy is in the position to guard two people, like right, scoring 5v5 is difficult enough, but if you're letting one guy guard two people, then now instead of the 4v3s and the 3v2s we've been talking about on offense, now the defense has an advantage. And that means they can have an extra body to either just play safety and roam, or that's one body that can go double someone or get in the passing lane. So AD sees this, and what does he do? Right? Instead of letting Jimmy just stay there, now AD makes a straight line drive to the rim. And Iggy's already committed to stopping the drive because Tyler Hero didn't, and Jay Crowder still has to shade LeBron, and Duncan was on the other side. So Iggy has to be the help, and at this situation, Jimmy Butler has his back to AD, and he's on Danny Green anyways. And now AD just sees this, dives down, simple dunk, right? So if you let that run, really just LeBron pushing it forces the mismatch, forces the miscommunication. They just swing it, drive, kick. Good cut by AD. Good pass by Kuzma. Simple basketball right there. And these are the kind of plays where, there's times when, LeBron's gonna get, his credit for the 8, 9, 10 assists he has, but there are plays like this where there's there's still a lot of plays within the course of a game where his impact is shown beyond the scorecard, right? I know there's stats for hockey assists, passes that lead to assists. And in this case, this is one of them. He and guys like Rondo for this Lakers team has been huge because he's another guy that has a lot of these plays where he just makes the right play. Does not always get the assist, but makes the right play, makes the right cut, makes the right moves that lead to assists, that lead to baskets. And once they got Rondo back, this Lakers offense has been firing at all cylinders because instead of just LeBron, now they have a guy like Rondo who now, before he used to be able to leave him open. I still would if I was a defense, but he's even hitting some threes now. But on top of that, he's doing what he's always done, which is facilitating the offense, not just passing for assists, but really holding the ball, getting guys in the right place, passing not only to the right place, but at the right time. And this offense is running on all cylinders. Against me, super difficult for Miami and Spoelstra to make, any kind of mark on the series. It looks like it's going to be Lakers in 4 games. I had Lakers in 5. With the Miami Heat being banged up, Jimmy's injured, Bam is injured, and we don't even know if Goran's available for game 2. Very difficult. I don't want to fully count out Miami, but you see right here, I mean, Miami, one has to step up their defense to even give themselves a shot. And it's gonna be hard. Again, LA has the 2 best players in the series, and when they're not only have the 2 best players in the series, but are running their offense that efficiently and precisely, very difficult to stop. And Miami, on the other hand, their offense is going to be hindered by the loss of or the potential loss of Dragic, and then just Jimmy and Bam not being 100%. Maybe Jimmy has to be more, you know, ISO heavier, just aggressive. We'll see. Um, he's been relying on his not relying, but he's been trusting his teammates a lot, and that's worked for them up until this point. But there are pundits and people out there who think Jimmy should be more aggressive, could be more aggressive. So we'll see. But anyways, thanks for joining us again. We're gonna try to keep doing these video reviews, breakdowns. We have the draft and stuff coming up, free agency. So maybe we can do something with that. But in the meantime, we'll keep breaking down some of the finals games, some of the plays. Maybe we'll do some individual player moves or player breakdowns. But in the meantime, give us that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Do follow us on our Facebook, Keep It Hoop, Instagram, Twitter. We also have podcasts on Spotify and iTunes. But yeah, talk to you guys soon.